the effect of Bitcoin diminishes every 4 years. So, at one point it was the end all be all. And then, we had some other bad coins launch. And then we had the next wave, 2012 to 2014. We had Ethereum launch around that time. We had Tron launch around that time. And, Bitcoin's relative strength to those tokens diminishes every single cycle. And so that is going to continue, just like the pump diminishes, oh, this cycle we're going to do a 40x. Well, now it's an 11x. And then we went from 20K to 69K. Then it became a 3.5x. Well, next time from 69 to the next cycle top might only be 1.75x or 2x or 1.5x. So as the market matures, as the reward subsidies have less of an effect on the market, all these are going to create less and less movement. And
hi, everyone. I have Deezy here, esteemed guest. So can you introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Deezy. I work for Discover Crypto. Been making crypto content since 2020, making content even longer than that. Former washed up Magic the Gathering pro. And now I mostly talk about Bitcoin, Cardano, and maybe a little NFTs, a little gaming.
Perfect. So how did you get into crypto?
So, like I said, I was a washed up Magic the Gathering guy. I used to be a pro Magic the Gathering player. Are you familiar with that card game?
Not really.
It's a turn-based game that's like Pokemon. Imagine Pokemon mixed with Dungeons and Dragons with like chess peppered in, So it's like a turn-based card game. And I was making content for that. And then a crypto card game came out. And I had known about Bitcoin. I've been on the, I had some amount of crypto, but not a whole lot. I just had Coinbase, bought some Chainlink, bought some ETH, bought some Bitcoin. Wasn't really into the scene. But then that's when I started, downloading a MetaMask, learning about, DEXs, learning about different chains. And all of a sudden, just kind of opened my eyes about ownership and, really, really owning an asset that you can actually maybe see on the blockchain. Is this going to be inflated away like my dollars? Or, Magic the Gathering, they might print a rare card and it's worth $50. But then they'll just crank out copies of that card. And then it goes from 50 to 40 to 30 to 20. And it's because there's an increased supply. So just learn about supply and demand economics. I had an accounting background, always just fascinated by technology. So once I really started diving into crypto, I couldn't stop. And here we are years later.
Perfect. But why did you go into or think about other things? Because a lot of people who go into crypto, they just see this let's say attributes in Bitcoin and they just get fixated on that. Or they get into for example, NFTs or gaming tokens and they get fixated. How did you broaden your perspective that now you have an insight on a lot of various aspects?
Well, I've dabbled into the maxi lifestyle, what I mean? It's like, there's a period where Bitcoin's the only coin. And then, maybe you have a meme coin that overperforms and you're like, oh, wow, all of a sudden I love this meme coin so much. I'm sure it has nothing to do with my portfolio. And then, with Cardano and NFTs, like, oh man, I love my Bored Ape, Mutant Ape. After a while, you just start to realize, okay, sometimes you just got to zoom out. Bitcoin is the king of crypto at the end of the day. It is the digital gold. But there is an entire ecosystem being built under that. And it's okay to not just dive into one thing. I would actually recommend against just, narrowly focusing on one aspect of crypto, because you might end up missing tons of narratives and you might end up missing out on the bigger picture.
Perfect. So right now, what would you say is the go-to crypto for you, or at least the aspect, are you just focused on gaming, or what are you focused on?
That's a good question. What am I focused on? The upcoming narrative people need to pay attention to probably going to be what's happening in the background right now. The big banks are coming in. They're starting to tokenize assets. They're starting to explore RWA's real world assets. And there's going to be a handful of players that probably benefit pretty strongly off of that. I would say Chainlink is probably going to be high on that list. I hesitate to recommend small cap cryptos. One, times hard to buy. Two, people don't know about wallets. Three, it's easier to just recommend something you can buy on a major exchange. I do think Chainlink is going to piggyback off of BlackRock's entry into crypto and probably going to be a good performer over the next year or two.
So you think after this ETF narrative that maybe real world assets would be the major thing?
Oh no, it's hard to tell because gaming is due for another pump. I think, gaming could pump and then, have everybody's attention focused on gaming for a good 1 or 2 months. AI may come back as well. We might see AI come back in a
I was
strong
just
way
gonna
if
ask about AI. Yes, like, what do you think about that?
well, I think the next catalyst, because we have the catalyst in the past, right? We had Chat GPT, it released what, December 22, I believe it was, January 23. Then boom, all the AI tokens started to pump. And then we had Nvidia stock just going skyrocketing. And then a lot of AI tokens pump then. But now we're kind of waiting for the third wheel to turn. We need that third narrative shift. If there is going to be a third narrative pump for AI, I think it's largely going to be based off the text to video narrative. And once there's a really good one with limited guardrails, I'm not saying make some crazy stuff, but people are going to want to see Pikachu fighting Darth Vader. They're going to want to see, well, what if Lord of the Rings had two Ninja Turtles in the Fellowship? Once people really start cranking out awesome content with the text to video, I think we could see another AI pump.
I see. And do you think that these catalysts are required for us to get like into a real bull run instead of like the current stagnation that we are in?
What do you mean? Like we need some normie narrative to latch onto? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, do you think that this is the catalyst that's going to pump the whole market, or what do you think is the
No,
catalyst?
no, no. The catalyst that's going to pump the next, the next catalyst for the next big pump, it may have just happened. We have been testing some pretty low levels. I think we're starting to see some ETF inflows on Wall Street. I think the U.S. Wall Street is a sizable portion of the institutional interest, and so we kind of have to look at Wall Street to determine where that's going to go. Hong Kong is kind of small compared to that. Brussels, EU, it's kind of small compared to what BlackRock is doing, what Vanguard is doing. So honestly, it could just be a narrative shift because we got too oversold. Sometimes we don't need. I can point at X, Y, or Z, and it's this story. Sometimes just the markets. Show me the charts. I'll show you the news. If we get overbought, well, then Bitcoin's overbought. It's going to start dumping. If we get oversold, well, there's going to be opportunity there. And then the whales start coming in, they start scooping. And the next thing you know, we move $10,000 in 3 days and boom, everybody's greedy again.
But why do you think we are in this situation to begin with? Because I remember like a couple of months ago, people were very bullish like about the markets, and then it all of a sudden dumped very strongly. So what do you think happened?
We pumped for too long. We started the year pretty close to 25K. And then next thing you know, we're pretty close to 75K. So we tripled in a fairly short amount of time. Those ETFs that were launched January 11th created a huge seismic shift with the institutional money. And the market started to reflect that. A lot of that opportunity is gone. We have retraced a decent amount from 73, 74K. We're flirting, getting closer to 60. We might need more pain though. We might need to go down to 50K, 52K before we have a real good pump though.
I see. And do you see this cycle? Like, do you see like we're going to have this 4 year cycles continue on, or are we going to have like maybe like a super cycle or some other form of cycles?
I don't know if we can get past the notion of the halving. Maybe not even the notion, just the market dynamics of the halving. Having the reward issuance cut by 50% is a massive decline. And when you have, a speculative miner, all right, I got a Raspberry Pi and, maybe I, get a Bitcoin block once every 2 years. Whatever, that person doesn't really matter. But when you're spending $7.4 million in electricity month after month, maybe next month is going to be $7.7 million. The hash rate, your profitability, all those things matter immensely. And so when you're going from a 50% reduction where your reward is 6 Bitcoin and then it gets cut to 3. Let's just say you're a large mining facility like say Marathon, and hey, on average, we're going to get about 200 Bitcoin every month. Well, once that gets cut down to 100, that is a massive, massive shock. And so there's a lot of machines that aren't profitable. There's a lot of machines being taken offline right now. And then that is going to affect, the supply and demand economics. And then there's the whole other side. That's the creation side. Then there's the buy side. If you got a lemonade stand, they're putting out 10 lemonade cups every single day and 11 people want lemonade cups. Well, you don't really have an issue. But when that 10 cups gets cut down to 5, we got 6 people on the sideline. So it's going to be a massive, massive issue on the sell side and the buy side.
And this would basically creates like the pump, basically.
Yeah, it creates the pump. I mean, it's supply and demand economics. When there's less of an asset and the demand stays the same, well, the price is just going to go up. It's just really not much that can happen. The reason you don't see, all right, halvings on a Tuesday, Bitcoin pumps on a Wednesday, there's stores of Bitcoin that these mining facilities have. They might have 800 Bitcoin and they sell 10 every other day, or maybe they just wait for OTC deals to come to them. So they might not just run out of Bitcoin overnight during the halving. it's going to take months and months and months, sometimes up to 12 months for that supply to reach that point of what they call supply shock.
I see. And do you see the other crypto, like obviously there are like some correlation between other altcoins and Bitcoin. Do you see that continuing to be the case, even though that Bitcoin dominance is reducing over time?
It will stay the case, but what's going to happen is the effect of Bitcoin diminishes every 4 years. So, at one point it was the end all be all. And then, we had some other bad coins launch. And then we had the next wave, 2012 to 2014. We had Ethereum launch around that time. We had Tron launch around that time. And, Bitcoin's relative strength to those tokens diminishes every single cycle. And so that is going to continue, just like the pump diminishes, oh, this cycle we're going to do a 40x. Well, now it's an 11x. And then we went from 20K to 69K. Then it became a 3.5x. Well, next time from 69 to the next cycle top might only be 1.75x or 2x or 1.5x. So as the market matures, as the reward subsidies have less of an effect on the market, all these are going to create less and less movement. Another thing people don't talk about when it comes to Bitcoin halving is when you're releasing, at one point it was 50 Bitcoin every 10 minutes, but there was only 100,000 Bitcoin. And so when you're adding 50 to 100,000, it's an okay amount. But when you're adding 3 to 19 million, it's an ant fart. It's nothing. It literally does nothing. And so as the supply of Bitcoin grows, amount of Bitcoin hitting the market has a smaller and smaller and smaller effect. So not only is the amount hitting the market having a smaller effect because it goes from 50 to 25 to 12 to 6 to 3, the amount of Bitcoin is competing with also is creating a smaller and smaller effect. It's one thing to compete against 1 million Bitcoin on the market, 2 million. It's a whole nother thing to compete with 19 million Bitcoin. That's how many is out right now.
So do you think that also like for the longest of time we had Ethereum being like in the second place, and there was like some talk, I think about 6 years ago or so, about like Ethereum overtaking Bitcoin at some point and all these things, but it doesn't seem likely now, at least.
This episode is sponsored by DegreeSign.
CoinExams platform was purpose-built by DegreeSign to be one of the best-performing platforms in the crypto space.
DegreeSign is an agency developing web products with a long experience of building products from scratch for maximum performance and stability.
Start today. Just email make@degreesign.com.
But do you think other chains could overtake Ethereum itself, like this second position after Bitcoin, like for example, something like Solana, which is having a lot of hype at the moment?
Well, I actually have a outside the box take here. I don't think it's going to be a competing L1 that overtakes Ethereum. I think the best shot is going to be a stablecoin. I think stablecoins are going to be a larger and larger percentage of the entire crypto market cap. The correlation I would use to paint this example is gold. We have Pax Gold, where gold is on chain. Well, Bitcoin's market cap is roughly 10% of gold's market cap. So if 1% of gold is added to the blockchain, oh my God, the entire crypto sector is pumping. It looks insane if you look at the entire market cap. But did crypto itself actually get better? I would argue not really. You're just having a representation of a different asset. And so we're going to see that across the board. Silver and gold is going to be brought on chain without really doing much to the crypto ecosystem. We're going to see the same thing with housing. If you have a Manhattan skyscraper and it's worth $200 million, and then all of a sudden someone says, I put it on the Ethereum chain. The TVL of the entire ETH ecosystem jumps 200 million. But did they really add any value? I would argue, the answer is closer to no than the answer is close to yes here. And so I think you can kind of use that to just show like the stablecoin market is going to grow and grow and grow and grow. Doesn't mean crypto, the whole industry is going to drag Bitcoin or pull Bitcoin with it, pull Ethereum with it, pull Cardano and Solana with it. It's going to end up being like kind of two different worlds. You have like TradFi with gold, real estate, real world assets. And then you're going to have, Ethereum, Solana, and Bitcoin.
I see. So I guess it's also similar to the case like what we see right now with stable coins like USDT or USDC. Like these coins are supposed to be like layer 2s on Ethereum, but they're still competing with it. Even so, it's like these base layers maybe would like fade into the background with time.
Well, I think it's not even about that. It's about people want stability. So you're in crypto, you're probably a little bit of a degen. I'm a degen. You're watching at home, you're a degen. Not everybody likes 10% fluctuations in their price. So, there's just going to be a need for stability for traditional forces to come into the market. And there is going to be a day where gas fees can probably be paid with Tether or Circle or USDC. And once that happens, you can really expect, adoption to start ramping up, because you're going to have someone, it's like, all right, I tokenized this Rolex watch and it's on the Avalanche blockchain. And, I gave it to you, corporate guy, in your wallet. They're like, hey, I'm trying to like do something with it. And it says I need a gas fee. I need AVAX ETH, and I've tried to get ETH and I sent it and it said wrong chain. And man, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. But if you could just do frictionless gas fees with the stable coins, that's when the normies
Actually,
can just use it left and right.
Already in development. Like a lot of wallets are starting to put it out.
And development, but devs say 3 months away, but then it's like 12 months later, and we're like, where the F is it?
Yeah. No, it is available in some wallets, but yeah, it's still not like a lot of marketing around it. So
well, again, it's available via a wallet. It's not really like built into the chain, and so I would argue that's more of a UI feature versus a built-in utility.
It's a protocol for the Ethereum chain, and it's also for other EVM chains like BNB and others. So yeah, I guess like you will see it soon. I'm sure. Like within a couple of months is max.
Yeah. The dev said 3 months away. Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. 3 months.
Okay, so going back to the overall market, like when you look at the like right now on in the real world assets you mentioned, like for example something like the gold, so and the tokenization of the housing market and all this. Do you think that this what is the time frame for these things to happen, like to basically to be included in the market?
I mean, you have gold and Rolexes on chain already. It's just not really massively adopted. I think, the scenario you're kind of pointing where it's like, Wall Street's in and BlackRock's like doing it in a major way. We're probably not going to see it this cycle. Probably what you'll see is rumblings of it at the peak, say 18 months from now. But that's just going to be BlackRock dumping their BUIDL fund on you, dumping it on retail. And then during the depths of the bear market, say 3 years from now, when you're being told to stay away from crypto's a scam, it's bad for energy, here's fresh FUD we haven't even invented yet. That's when BlackRock, Consensus, just whales in general, Justin Sun, that's when they're just going to be massively buying the infrastructure plays for this ecosystem. And then there'll be real opportunity there. But I don't think we get any kind of like real adoption this cycle. You're not going to be able to go to Zillow and then, pay with ETH. That's 10 years from now, maybe, if it ever happens.
So right now, like what coin do you see the hype focused on, other than maybe like something like Solana?
Well, I don't want the thing that has the hype focused on it. I want the thing that everyone's bearish on. And I feel like ETH is getting a lot of FUD, which is coincidentally timed around a potential ETH ETF approval. So right when you need max FUD, max pain, max fear for Ethereum, you have a potential ETF applications rolling through. Now, maybe it's going to be pushed back months. Maybe it happens next week. But the scenario spelling out right now is it looks like it might be approved next week. In which case, I would say ETH will follow Bitcoin, where, once that once the Bitcoin ETF was approved, kind of pumped for a few days. Then it had like a couple weeks of bearish action. It actually fell. It was like, buy the rumor, sell the news. You should have sold. And meanwhile, they're just shaking you out of the bags. And then it went from 25 to 75K.
Yeah. I guess like
I know ETH is boring. You want like some smaller coin. You want me to say your bag, but Ondo is a smaller cap. I would say check out. BlackRock's working with it, and it plays into the real world asset narrative.
I see. And okay, so maybe also going back to Bitcoin, have you looked into Lightning?
Yeah, Lightning Network. The promise of you'll buy your coffee with Bitcoin. I remember saying Jack Mahler's telling this to the crowd 3 years ago. I was there at Bitcoin Miami. And he's like, this is how I would explain it. He's like, guys, look how easy it is. You go up, you open the wallet, you pull up the app, you biometric data, you go to this, you tap that, you get a text, you confirm. And it's like, bro, I could tap a plastic card and I'm out. I got my gasoline, my Swisher Sweets, my Gatorade, whatever. This is too complicated. So Lightning Network, it goes into the face of what the maxis like, which is Bitcoin's all about decentralization. And then where you have Lightning Network, where it's like going to batch all these transactions over that 10-minute period and then say like, this goes through. I feel like it's going to be maybe too centralized for people to massively adopt it. To me, it reminds me of like trying to add all the new features of a car to a Model T. Like, I don't think the Model T is going to be the thing to show off power windows or to reveal your new windshield wiper or to say, hey, we have a catalytic converter and anti-lock power brakes or whatever. No, you want to put it on a new vehicle. Like to have this old architecture and framework that is, Bitcoin core that's supposed to handle all these transactions. It's like, hey, we fixed it with Lightning Network. It's like other chains just like, oh yeah, I could do that in my sleep. So you could try it over there, or you just let Solana do it, or you just let Ethereum do it. I think that's the way it's going to go. I don't see us using the Model T as a souped up vehicle.
I see. So if that's not going to work, you think that other crypto will replace this? Like, I understand, obviously, from technology perspective, they already can do that, as you mentioned. Like, some of them are very fast. They do all the Lightning promises, but there is one aspect that maybe Bitcoiners will point to, which is the decentralization, also, as you mentioned. Do you think that in the future, like, or at least what we hope for, or what the average user hopes for, is that they're looking for this decentralization, or they don't really care as much?
Normies don't care about that at all whatsoever. Normies don't care about inflation, you know, and normies don't care about why your coin has ridges. Do you know why a coin has ridges?
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
bad story if you look in the origin. You know what I'm talking about, man. So it's like normies don't care about any of that type of stuff. Even when you're screaming in their face, like, look how expensive your milk is. They're like, nah, it's corporation's fault. Like, shut up. But that's just most people, man. So, you know, you try to tell people like, man, they're printing your money away. They're killing the middle class. They're stealing your future. Your kids, you know, they're going to own nothing, and they're going to be told to be happy, and they're going to eat bugs. And they're going to say, yeah, but what about the sports ball game and Taylor Swift? That's just where we're at, man.
So do you see any hope for the decentralization to be the norm?
No, God, no. Of course not. No one cares about that, man. By definition, 50% of the world is dumber than average. By definition. Do you see those people caring about that ever? Ever? No, I don't personally. They're not going to care.
So
They're never going to
even if
care.
they don't care about it, but at least like there is a significant minority that cares about it. So you think that the technology will develop in that direction?
No, because the only time people are going to care is when they're putting their paper in a wheelbarrow to buy a loaf of bread. You know, that's when they care, and it's going to be too late by then. Hopefully, we're all on yachts because we saw the writing on the wall.
Yeah. Okay, so how about like other technologies that's built on the blockchain, or like takes this idea of decentralization, like for example, Nostr replacing Twitter and all this. Do you see any hope for these technologies?
No, because as you get more decentralized, the less power structure you have, and to have an effective company, an effective empire, an effective group of any people that's like beyond, so like 180, 220 or whatever. Anytime you get beyond that, it's really not supposed to happen. You know, the normal thing to happen is like civilizations fail. That's the normal thing to happen. The normal thing for restaurants is they fail. The normal thing for businesses is they fail. The normal thing for cryptos is they fail. And so it's like this weird confluence of convergence of things and luck and skill that makes things successful. But yeah, on average, all going to zero.
In case of decentralization, you mean?
Well, in case of the decentralization, you know, just like I said, it's just not going to be on the forefront of people's minds. And you could try to educate them. You could do your best. You could do the best job explaining in the world. You could have graphics everywhere. You could tell them how important it is. You could have the proof in their face. Like, hey, your vehicle shut off because they were too centralized over there. But decentralized, well, let me rewind a bit. When I think about decentralization, you know, there's a crypto project that people say, man, it's super decentralized. That would be Uniswap. Uniswap isn't that decentralized. Who bought the URL? Whose cell phone is connected to the Instagram? You know, there's levels of centralization. The more centralized something is, the more likely it could be successful. So as you get more decentralized, your likelihood of failure also increases, because it's like trying to get a DAO to pay a light bill. They're like, well, I say we put it in a multi-sig. No, we don't put it in a multi-sig. Well, we put it in with Tether. No, we put it in with USDC. Well, we pay on the 1st. No, we pay on the 5th. It's like, So the more decentralized you are, oftentimes the more cumbersome executions become.
I guess that's why, like, we see even in countries, like a lot of times, maybe what's called like dictatorships, they manage to achieve a lot more than maybe like some democracies.
Hey, man, don't talk about rapid inflation getting cured 100 years ago. We don't talk about that.
Yeah.
Man, you're going to get me canceled, man. I can't even, people are going to say, wait a minute, they're going to do the math on 100 years ago.
Yeah. But yeah, it's an interesting concept, and like it's an interesting reality as well, that decentralization is like...
Look at Gaddafi. Look at Gaddafi. Look at what Gaddafi did. Gaddafi did a fantastic job by many metrics. You know, look what happened to the Weimar Republic. You know, then trying to get him out of that. Look at Milei, Javier Milei, what he's done over there. And you know, there's a common element here. It's authoritarianism. So yeah, you know, once you centralize things, hey, shit gets done for better or worse.
But the problem is, like, it has also like some bad aspects. So it's like it's very hard.
Oh yeah. Look at Uday Hussein, Saddam's son. probably not a good thing. He's just like murdering the soccer players for, you know, not blocking the goal. So yeah. There's a yin to the yang. I'm
Yeah.
not saying, you know, Deezy's
Yeah.
not saying he's pro dictatorship.
Yeah.
But you know, I think it's an adult conversation to say,
Yes, yes.
you know, there's definitely benefits and detriments here.
Yeah. So how do we strike a balance, especially like as this new world is being ushered, like using crypto, and maybe like some more real world assets is going to be added to the blockchain as well. Do you think like maybe like should like maybe some blockchains are going to be centralized and some others are going to be like decentralized?
Well, I could say this: you can vote with your wallet, you can vote for the more decentralized blockchains, and you can just stay away from the VC dump fests. You know, look at the Nakamoto coefficients. Bitcoin is high on that. Cardano is high on that. You look at some of these newer launch L1s that are like kind of, you know, known for being VC led. You know, you're not getting a lot of decentralization there. But, you know, back to
mentioned
Cardano.
So what do you think about Cardano's latest update? Do you think
Yeah,
that
they just did the Chang hard
decentralized
fork.
enough now?
Yeah. I mean, I would say for sure the governance is now in the power of the people, or like, you know, once all the SPOs get this node upgraded, then boom, we're like in that new era. So yeah, I mean, it is definitely paving the way. If you look at Cardano's market cap, you look at the price, the market has shown, hey, we don't care about governance. We don't care about decentralization. So it just kind of goes to my earlier point. I don't care about that stuff. They wanted to say dog coin go up.
Yeah, it's been really like a fun conversation, and I was really interested, and it's also meaningful. Like it's not fun in a bad way. Like it's good, like a good adult conversation, as you mentioned. So the how do people reach you? Like other than your YouTube channel, what kind of channels or links do you want to shout out?
Yeah, you can find me on all my platforms, Deezy_BTCs, DEEZY, not the two letters, not demilitarized zone like North Korea, nothing like that. Now, Deezy_BTC, check me out. And guys, if you're not subbed to this channel, you're making a huge mistake.
Thank you so much. It was nice having you. Bye.
Same.